Oh, not the airport. Oh, another goodbye. He's right. He's right. Right, Melody as well. Oh, I love that he got down. Oh. Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's looking after him anyways, but still. Aw. That's music to my ears, man. Beautiful. About that. Oh. Okay. He's still at it, eh? That's another one. Not like this. Of course. I'm sure his team's done all their research. Oh. Yeah, he still wanted to say goodbye though, right? A lot of departures. Yeah, now go get the goddamn hunter license. Get it back. Hold on, it's not that easy. I mean, good luck, but... Yeah, spare no expenses, right? Phaeton. Finks. Go on, speculate. I love that little nod. It's beautiful. Oh, I feel bad for him. He gave it a go. They must... Nice. That girl? She stood out from the crowd. Right, the guy. I don't quite have the handle on the name just yet. The Money Hunter. Is the test already taking place? God damn, it's quite a bit. Because they made it sound like 32. Yeah, she really stood out from that crowd. Because all of them kind of look like red shirts, NPCs. It's testing their critical thinking as well, right? Ooh. Killer's doing his thing, right? Internal monologue, thinking it over. Yeah. Might be similar to the Hunter exam. Those ones are... You've got to be a bit more decisive than that, right? I mean, probably just in another room, right? Ha. Yeah. Because in the last episode... So 32 is quite a bit. Best of the best, right?
この選考会では32名も合格者は出ない。
A handful. Yeah, it's gotta be just like a handful of
以
them.
上もクリアした者がいないとされるゲーム。しかも前のプレイヤーが生きてる限り、
Right, they made that clear in the last episode.
保険の意味でもより有望な挑戦者が現れた時に備えて、いくつか空席を残しておこうって考えるのが普通。
I think those spots are about to be
今回の
filled.
審査で選ばれるのはおそらく20人ちょっとってとこ
Still quite a bit. I thought it'd be like 6, 7.
見込みがあるのは開始と同時に迷わず席を立った数人と
Or hanging back.
理解して席に残り集中してる俺たち。そっちの坊主
Hey, gone. He hasn't said anything. But he made the choice to sit around his wall, right?
お前気づいてたのか。
Hmm.
いや、なんとなくだけど。
He's good
主
at
催
that.
者側から考えたら、せっかく集めた人たちの実力は
Or he's got a
全員
knack for
確か
that.
めておきたいって思うのが人情かなって。
自分の断りを持ってそれに身を委ねるってのはなかなかできねえんだ。正解への道が険しく危ないほどバカと利口の両方を兼ね備えてねと前へ進めなくなる。俺の名はプーハット。
Puhat.
よろしく。
Puhat. It's always nice to have these types of characters just come in for a few moments.
俺は最善の手にこだわって理屈で考え
I
すぎ
mean, that's his approach for the most part, right?
頑張って。
His comfort zone.
冒険しなきゃ前に進めない。
Ooh, stepping out of that comfort zone, though.
無理はするな。
Silva.
100% やれると確信した時だけ実行
Don't take on a fight that you can't.
それ以外は待て。俺たちの最も重要な仕事は待つこと。
I mean, assassins, right?
賞賛もなしに自分の能力を見せるなど、最も愚かな行為だ
But
ぞ。
look at this, Killua
それ
stepping
は
out.
親父の理屈。
Hmm.
俺はもう殺し屋じゃない。ハンターだ。
Ah.
実力のほどが分かれば何であろうと問
Now,
題はない。
it'll be interesting to see
あの時
his
の俺が
reaction.
実力のすべてではないことを見せてくれ。
行くぞ
It'll。show us, or it'll show me. Oh, okay. It'll show me that this is really quite special and that he hasn't seen this. Looks like it.
オーラを電気になありえん。ゼロからこの4日間で覚えたなどということは。
どう？もう少し見るかい。
いや、よか
Nah,
ろう。
you're good.
一朝一夕で身につくことじゃない。拷問に近い強力な電気を浴びる
Yeah,
修行だ
about
から
that, right?
数年はいるはず。
It's almost kind of like second nature.
強力な電気ね。生まれた時から浴びてたぜ。家庭の事情だね。
Family reasons. Yeah. Oh, the girl.
7人か。
Looks can be
お
deceiving,
っさ
right?
んの読み通り、受かってるのは真っ先に動いた奴らと。
Whoa. Gon's own Big Bang. How cute.
今の音、お前か？
末恐ろしい子供たちだ。
Yeah, there's a few that have noticed that.
君たち21人にはグリードアイランドをプレイする
NDAs?
権利を与える。ゲームをクリアした場合の報
Hey,
酬は
Leorio's
500
theme.
億ジェニー。詳細は契約書に書いてあるので。
Contract, NDA.
乾杯
There's Leorio.
突破だな。
これちょっと見てほしいんだけど。
契約書か。
Yeah, let's check out the details of that.
要約すると3つだな。1つ、怪我をしたり死んだりしても文句を言わない。2つ、ゲーム内から持ち帰ったものは全てバッテラ氏に所有権が。
Yeah.
3つ、ゲームをクリアした者には500億ジェニーの報酬を与える。
The first 2 points are
大事なのは2つ目だな。ゲームの中から現実に
Right.
持ち帰ってくる。
belongs to the big man.
奴が大枚はたいて求めてるのは、
Yeah.
その何かだ。
He needs something. He needs something, right?
なんだって渡すよ。俺が欲しいのは物じゃない。ジンに一歩でも近づきたいだけなんだから。
Oh, look at him.
じゃあな。
Oh,
レオリオ試験頑張ってね。
おう、お前らも気ぃつけてな。
次会うときはお医者さんだね。
おめえ、そりゃ最短でも4年会わねえってこと
yeah.
俺たちはもっと早くゲームクリアするつもりだけどな。
負けねえよ。
Aw. Yeah, I might not get to see him or Kurapika for a decent amount of time, right? At least not until the end of this arc. Maybe they might check in every now and then, maybe. That could be nice. Okay. Let's do this. Now playing, eh?
このゲームはソフトそれぞれが独立してるわけではない。どのハード機からスタートしても、
It's more of like a portal to...
一つのバーチャルエリアに世界中から参加できるものと考えてもらっていい。
プッシュ。
では、メモリーカードを配布する。使うかね。安心したまえ。どのセーブデータでも最初に行き着く先は皆同じだ。
ジン、このゲームはジンが残したメッセージ。信じて進むよ。俺は自分のカードを使ってみるよ。ゴン。
Oh boy.
俺が行くまでスタート地点で待ってるよ。
Unless he has to flee or something, you know, for any the multi-tap. Okay then. So it begins.
おお。
Whoa.
グリードアイランドへようこそ。ゴンフリークス様ですね。これよりゲームの説明をします。お聞
Look
き
at
になります
this.
か？ブックとゲインです。それでは指輪をはめた手を前に出し、ブックと唱えてください。
Interesting character design here. Look at this. Almost kind of like Krollo's ability.
このゲームは指定されたカードを集めるゲームです。それは集めたカードを
Oh,
収める本に
like a collector's album. I like it.
指定ポケットに入る100枚のカードをコンプリートすること。それがこのゲームのクリア条件となります。
Okay, this looks like a lot of fun.
厳密に言うと100個のアイテムをカード化してその本に揃えるということです。
Okay.
カードか？
剣というアイテムを入手した場合、それは手にした瞬間にカードに変わります。
Oh, gain?
逆にカードをアイテムとして使いたい場合はゲインという
Right,
ものを
book
使い
and
ます。
gain.
ただし
Cool
一度ゲイ
concept.
ンでアイテムに戻したら二度とカード化されませんのでご注意ください。
Ah.
再びカード化したい場合は再度入手する必要があ
Okay.
ります。
A lot of rules, yeah.
うん。なんとか。
Hang in there, hang in there.
もしもプレイヤーが死んでし
Yeah,
まった
yeah,
場合
yeah, yeah, yeah.
本と指輪は破壊され中のカードは全て消滅します。
死んじゃったらそんなの関係ないと思う
I
け
mean,
ど。
interesting question, but she... I mean, it feels like a lot of fun, but it's not going to be just fun in games.
それで
People
は
die in
ご
there.
検討をお祈りいたします。そちらの階段からどうぞ。
Okay, then. Ooh.
セーブデータを読み取ります。ジン・フリークス様からのメッセージです。
ジン？
よく来たなゴン。これは俺が仲間と作ったゲーム。
Ah, confirmation there.
俺の元へたどり着く手がかりがあると思ったらあいにくだったな。俺はただこのゲームを自慢したいだけだ。
Okay, Pops. Let's see, let's
理
see.
由がどうであれ、ここまで来た以上、あるアイテムを手に入れない限り、ここから出られない。
Yes, I like the new ending kicking in.
ついに幻のゲームグリードアイランドに足を踏み入れたゴン。今新たな冒険が
You don't say. Okay, so now it's truly into the next arc, into Great Island, proper, right? You know, Gon's made the first step, and you know they gave us a bit of a shot, as of course, you know, the ever-present narrator lets us know that a new adventure is about to begin. Yeah, you know, the thing is, it's presented as this really serene and lush setting, right? But I'm sure, you know, looks can be deceiving. Looks are deceiving. And, you know, that's applicable to perhaps a new face I saw in this episode as well. You know, this is someone that is essentially in the same age group as Gon and Killua as well. And I'm speaking of that girl in the dress, right? She really stood out from the crowd. You know, there's that pan shot of all the applicants, right? In the stands or in the seats, and all of them just, you know, they just kind of blend into the background, but she's the one that really stands out. And, you know, of course that's by design, to catch the audience's attention, to catch our eyes, right? And it does that. It certainly does that. So I'm sure, you know, there's something interesting going on there as well. You know, she is here, right? She is able to pass the exam and, you know, be in the game or be in Greed Island. So I'm sure there might be some interesting run-ins for Gon and Killua, right? I just think the fact that she's the same age group, there's probably more than just a few run-ins. As far as other characters that stand out from that crowd, there's Puhat, right? Who kind of almost looks like South Park's depiction of a Canadian. His mouth, the character design. Kind of, I suppose he might function as this arc's Tonpa. Maybe not as tricky, not as deceptive. Who knows? I just did say looks can be deceiving. So yeah, let's see. There's a few that look like, textbook goons, right? That they're going to be up to no good. They'll have a really specific tactic in mind. And, speaking of tactics, I'm sure, ultimately it is meant to be a game that is also confirmed to be developed or created by Jing and friends, right? The friends part is the really interesting bit, because Jing being one of the creators of the game isn't the biggest shocker. That was actually one of the possibilities I brought up. It's still exciting, actually getting confirmation on that. It is exciting, but to me, Jing and friends, that is the more exciting bit. And maybe at some point they might actually go into their motives. I'm not expecting to see Jing and some of these friends in a flashback or anything, but the thing is, even if Jing isn't present, even if Jing is straight up telling Gon that no, you're not going to find anything, in terms of clues to my location or how to kind of, continue pursuing me, he still is the creator of this, or part creator, or he has a specific hand in it. I'm sure each one of these friends, or these people from the friend group that Jing is speaking of, I'm sure each one of them kind of has a specialty, right, that they bring to this game, to Greed Island, right? And the major focus of this is Nen. Jing, of course, is essentially known to be a Nen master. Not just that, because Jing is known to be one of the most influential hunters in the world, right? So I just assumed almost immediately that, of course, he's a Nen master as well. But so might be the other friends. So I'm pretty certain that Nen plays a major role in the mechanics of this game, if you will. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's imbued with Nen, right? Quite masterfully, most likely. So masterfully, most likely, that, it's able to function as a real place. Now, I suppose I'll keep speculating until it's confirmed, but I still don't think that this is just as simple as them getting absorbed into, an MMO, right? Into a virtual reality, right? I think this actually could be a real place. I think that's probably most likely, or more likely than this being a virtual reality that you physically get sucked into, right? That's the thing. That's the key here, I think. These people, I've seen Phaeton, Finks, I've seen Gon now get actually physically sucked into it, right? And I'm guessing it's through Nen. And, I've seen this mechanic already, as I discussed in the last episode, through the Hunter database, right? That bar setting and all that. So, yeah. Of course, until I get official confirmation, yeah, it'll be up for debate. But to me, it feels like Nen is a major component of this, making the game tick, making it function. And I actually really quite like the tutorial phase that apparently only one person at a time can enter. Gon happened to be number one, and he entered first, right? And he gets the whole breakdown. And of course, as the helper AI keeps explaining these rules, there's exposition, of course, that I'm sure is going to be really quite important throughout this series, or not this series, this arc. As she's kind of explaining things and it's kind of adding up, of course, Gon is beginning to struggle a bit because that's not his thing. He's more about kind of picking up things as he goes on. And, she essentially said as much. The rest of the rules you'll kind of experience and pick up on and learn as you play the game, as you take part in Greed Island. That's more his approach. That's how he kind of learns and picks up on things. And also, before I forget, it's really quite the interesting character design for the helper AI, right? It's like this, I don't know, typical fairy AI type cutesy design, but then the bottom half is really, really quite fascinating. Unless, of course, that's just her sitting on a chair and that's not her legs. I don't know, maybe I'm having a brain fart moment, but, to me, it just looked like a really strange and interesting design. Hell, I keep calling her helper AI. She might not even be AI. That actually could be a person, right? It could be. But in terms of the rules, it's really quite simple. From our perspective, it's pretty clear cut. Yes, Gon struggles a bit, but that's in character, of course. Essentially, it was really kind of beginning to remind me of, I don't know, again, like I said, MMO. It's got certain mechanics or elements that really remind me of Yu-Gi-Oh! Of course, a lot of us, I'd say even most of us, at some point in our lives have been card collectors, right? It's just one of those hobbies that everyone kind of has, that phase. Hell, I'm still into that. Much more recently, of course, they announced, a One Piece collection or trading cards. I'm more about just collecting the rare cards rather than actually playing the game or anything. But yeah, I've been really into that. So, this is, interestingly and really quite surprisingly something that I can relate to almost immediately, right? The collection aspect of it. And, certain cards being easy to obtain and perhaps some of them being a bit more limited, a bit more rare, right? As she explains, there are certain cases that have limitations or certain cards have limitations. And she actually gave a specific example of it as well, right? An item could have a limit of 3. So once it's been transformed into an item 3 times, the 4th person who tries to transform it is just going to fail at it. It's just not going to work. So the idea of these limited quantities, right? And certain items being really quite rare in that sense, it really sets up the potential for a lot of juicy conflict, right? But since it is a game setting, it's going to make for a lot of really fun moments, interesting moments, exciting moments, right? Dangerous moments. It's really going to allow for things like deals, right? Alliances, factions being formed, right? So you've got the possibility of strength in numbers, but you've also got the possibility of lone wolves. I'm sure there's a few of those around in this game. I'm sure there's the possibility of really legendary figures inside of the game that have spent a lot of time in the game. Of course, maybe some of them might be ones that decided to just give up altogether and, remain in the game, right? Continue life inside of the game, or at least inside of Greed Island. But yeah, quickly going back to the point about items, or certain rare items, I suppose, having transformation limits, essentially means that not everyone is going to be able to clear the game. It's not as simple as just collecting an unlimited amount of items or, unlimited copies of items and then making it out of there, right? I mean, they said no one's made it out in 10 years' time, or rather, no one's cleared the game in 10 years' time, because, of course, the guy who is the head of selection, or the head of the selection committee, I suppose, the guy who's got the beard and the jumpsuit, essentially. I mean, he's a cool looking guy, cool looking character design, of course. He's got the eyebrows that are a little bit gray. He's been a part of the game. Hell, he stepped out just for this, right? To assist the tycoon, because of course he's been hired by the tycoon, for his own purposes. And I'll get into that as well, a bit more speculation about the tycoon and his motives, right? You see that even inside of the show itself, or within the show itself, there's, news reports or panels kind of being quite perplexed or really quite interested in this tycoon's obsession with Greed Island. And they speculate, and of course their speculation is really kind of fun for a lot of us that can kind of pick up on some of the nods, right? So that's nice, that's always fun. But I think that at the end of the day, it's just that, it's speculation. I don't think any of them are really even close to it. I'm sure the actual reason, the motive behind it, is going to be something perhaps surprising, perhaps understandable once I do kind of learn about it. But listen, this man, money is no object. Money, it doesn't matter, right? Apparently he even spent half of his wealth trying to, obtain as many copies as possible, right? And, in the last episode, they specified that they need, people or hunters, or men users that are strong enough to return items to the real world, right? That's the key. So there is something, something specific as far as items go that this man needs, right? But see, then, it's kind of like a rabbit hole situation. Okay, so they've confirmed that, okay, you can bring the items out of the game, out of Greed Island, but, they're also saying that, okay, items get turned into cards that then you can log into your album, right? Yeah, and there's of course restricted slots, and then there's open slots, and that also kind of presents a really fun opportunity as well. But in terms of the restricted slots, okay, so these items turn into um, cards, right? So essentially, it's not just an in-game thing. Those items can be returned to their actual state, their physical form, their physical state, rather, once they are brought out. But that's the tricky bit, right? Actually bringing all of the items out. That's the whole point of this, as confirmed, right, in the last episode. So there's something in the game, right? An item in the game, or at least on Greed Island, that he requires. Maybe it could be multiple items, but it's an item that he can only obtain inside of Greed Island, or at least pay someone else to obtain for him by clearing the game. But he needs that item in the real world. He needs it. So see, in that potential idea, you can kind of apply the whole concept of, common cards, simple items and all of that. And then of course you've got rare cards and, super rare cards and ultra rare and, secret rares and all of that type of lingo, right? From cards or, collecting cards and all of that. I'm sure he doesn't have his eyes on any of the common items, common things, common cards, I guess for an example, swords and all of that, right? But I'm sure there's certain items, again, possibly legendary items, and ultra rare items in that sense, I suppose, that he does have his eyes set on, right? That's the interesting bit, though. The exact items he might be interested in, and so interested in that he's just down to spend all of his money, or as much money as required. But also, let's kind of focus on that idea of exiting Greed Island. I just kind of focused on the man, the bearded guy, right? Who has exited the game for this reason, to screen new entries, new players, worthy players, right? Nen users specifically, so that's a bit of a game changer as well for Gon and Killua, right? Now they're in a place, I mean, I was about to say quite a confined space, but I'm not sure it's going to be confined to that extent. But they are in a playground of sorts that is only full of Nen users. So it is kind of taking the next step up. Perhaps as a whole, this place, Greed Island, is going to serve as the next phase of their education, right? In character progression and growth, because of course it is going to be really quite competitive in there, right? That's just the nature of the game itself. It's going to give them a lot of tricky and sticky situations to be a part of, in the sense that there's going to be a lot of confrontations, most likely. I kind of touched up on this a little bit earlier, right, in terms of factions and deals and alliances and all of that. So I suppose you can kind of link it to the Hunter exam, perhaps, the Hunter exam arc, or the Heaven's Arena arc, in the sense that it is most likely going to serve as a bit of a training arc as well. It really truly can be a testing ground for, these newfound Hatsu abilities, or newly developed Hatsu abilities. It's still probably, quite raw. Maybe for Gon, Killua seems to have caught the handle on it, but still, it's still the early stages, the beginning stages of it. They need to kind of, test it out, put it to use, put in the hours, right? Put in the training to really kind of embrace the new Hatsu. And also, to go back to one of the points I was making earlier about, Jing just saying to enjoy it, right? And he just wants to kind of show off his creation to Gon, his and his friends' creation to Gon. I'm sure that Jing also kind of thought, okay, this could serve as a training ground for Gon and for many others, but certainly for Gon as well, right? And on the flip side, Gon can actually learn quite a bit about Jing, or at least some things about Jing, just based on the structure of the game itself, right? The idea of the game itself. Perhaps that might come a bit closer to the conclusion of the arc, but I think there's a lot that Gon can learn, right? And I'm sure there's going to be other characters, of course, Killua as well, that are going to kind of, assist in this, perhaps, or through them, or other people's input, he'll be able to kind of infer or gather certain information about Jing, right? And the thing is, again, going back to my point about exiting Greed Island, for Gon, it's it's meant to be really quite specific, right? It doesn't matter how you got here or your reasons for coming in here, but the only way you can get out of here is if you obtain a certain item, a specific item, right? For Gon, it's all about that item, I suppose, right? And then of course you've got I know I keep going back to him, but the guy, right, the bearded guy whose name I'm not even going to attempt at this point, but yeah, he exited the game, right? He came outside to screen a few new players. So yeah, the idea of leaving the game is not something impossible. It is possible, but maybe there is a catch, or maybe there is something specific, right, that he is able to pull off, or he was able to understand, or I don't know, learn about. So yeah, I'm sure I'll get to learn about that as well, how he's able to just leave the game and go back in as he pleases. But yeah, as a whole, I'd say I'm really kind of into it. I'm digging the concept. At this point, I'm certainly much more into it, right? A bit more dialed in, right? Because I said, in my last episode's discussion that, I did find it a little bit difficult to kind of get out of that phase, the Phantom Troop arc, or sorry, not the Phantom Troop arc. God damn it, I did it again. The York New City arc phase, right? It took me right up until the ending of that last episode to finally kind of, let go and finally kind of begin to transition to the next arc, right? This one is finally into that arc now. Because of course, in addition to finally, stepping foot into Great Island, you've got the textbook goodbyes, right? There's a few of them. Once again, I see Kurapika say goodbye. I see Leorio say goodbye. Of course, each one of those goodbyes is really specific to their personalities, right? So yeah, of course, it's bittersweet. It's really bittersweet to see them go again, especially Leorio, because, at the end of the day, Kurapika was a major focus of this last arc, right? So to see Leorio go out again, yeah, that was tough. That's a bit sad to see, because I know, it's going to be a similar situation as the Heaven's Arena arc, right? Because that one's mainly focused on Gon and Killua, right? Not mainly, it is focused on them. This one kind of feels the same, right? Of course, it's going to have a collection of new characters and all of that as well, but mainly out of the the principal cast, it is going to be Gon and Killua. So yeah, as far as Leorio goes, I just hope that there is an arc that is, kind of focused on him, or he is a major focus of, rather than just kind of like a tag along, someone who kind of helps, kind of used as a comedic relief, right? Don't get me wrong, I like those moments, but I kind of want more for Leorio at some point, But the thing I really appreciate about this one is his send-off, right? There is a bit of a focus on him, on Leorio's character specifically, right? My God, yeah, I'd say one of the standout moments, not only of this arc, right, or this phase of the story, but the 60 episodes altogether, is the Melody and Leorio goodbye scene. I just loved everything about that scene. First of all, Leorio getting on his knee, right, on equal footing essentially as Melody, as a sign of respect, right? He didn't have to do that, but he did. And a few episodes ago, maybe in the last episode's discussion, yeah, it might have been a few episodes ago actually, I mentioned that Killua really has an understanding for Gon, right? He truly understands him. I think something similar can apply to Leorio's understanding of Kurapika, and the things that he is saying to Melody about Kurapika, right? The things that he understands about Kurapika, he'll be saying things like, oh, he can act calm, but he can be quite rash as well. He's spot on about that, about that assessment. He is, he's smart, but he doesn't always think things through, right? Because emotions do tend to take over. And really quite recently, in the conclusion of this arc, the York New City arc, yeah, I saw that on display, right? He can lose control. He can. Because of course, emotions can cloud judgment, from time to time. That's just human nature. That's realistic. It is. And the thing is, Melody knows most of this anyways, because she has been looking after Kurapika. Hell, that was one of the major components of this arc. Melody actually being this anchor for Kurapika, right? His constant. So yeah, she's been crucial. She's been crucial. And you see that Leorio picks up on this, or he has picked up on this, right? I think he said something like, yeah, it looks like he's opened up to you. So I love that both Melody and Leorio have an understanding for each other, right? Of each other's character. I mean, I think one of the best moments, right? Maybe I should speak for myself, but I think one of the best moments is Melody speaking of Leorio's character. She makes sure to tell him that, he's really quite soothing, right? He's a soothing presence. She tells him that he's got the most pleasant heartbeat that she's heard in the whole city. How about that? How about that? That's special. That really is truly special, right? And oh my God, the moment she starts conducting, it's soft, it's expansive, right? It's warm. It's just, oh my God, it's a beautiful moment. I mean, essentially, Leorio exudes positivity, and she feels that. She truly feels that, and I love that Leorio got that moment. And it's a really great moment. It's a lovely moment that she essentially reiterates his path in life, right? His career path in life. And I think at the end of that scene, Leorio kind of reiterates that, okay, I need to get serious about this now, right? And then he has his own goodbye scene. Of course, Leorio did not leave them hanging. He didn't feel that, he can leave, without saying goodbye. Of course, that could never happen. That's just not in his nature. He had to say goodbye properly to them. I think Kurapika could have said goodbye, but it's not surprising that he felt that, okay, no, I don't need to distract him at the moment. Of course, Gon's a little bit not annoyed, but he's a little bit sad that he didn't get to say goodbye. And the thing is, I'm not even sure the next time they'll actually see Kurapika. I have no idea. But yeah, I really liked Leorio's goodbye scene. It's beautifully presented as well, from a, visual standpoint. And even before the goodbye, there's a lovely moment at the diner or at the restaurant, right? It's like a shot of him just kind of looking at Gon, looking at Killua as well, I suppose. Or is it just Gon? I'm not sure. But that look on his face, right? It's this look that an older brother might have on their face, a parent figure even might have on their face, right? He's just so impressed by, these young dudes, these two young men that really truly could be his younger brothers, right? That is the dynamic there. There's even a lovely shot of Gon and Killua, right? As they look at Leorio, right? The looks on their faces, again, in my opinion, are ones of, okay, this is someone they truly care for. This is someone they actually might even consider, a brother, a family member at this point. There's a close bond. They have a lot of respect for him. But yeah, I think it's quite clear at this point that I really, really like Leorio. I really appreciate that character. And, I've got to say, Leorio specifically also kind of reminds me of my youngest brother, who is doing his residency at the moment. So yeah, there is a draw to Leorio for me specifically as well, an attachment to Leorio. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this dude. And I do hope to see him again, though, of course, I have realistic expectations of that as well. I know he's most likely not going to be making any appearances, until after the Greed Island arc, right? And appearances in the sense that, maybe a check-in. Actually, I don't know, maybe there could be a check-in at some point. They did that in the Heaven's Arena arc, right? But also in terms of goodbyes, Milky, man, Milky just, I don't know, man. He got shafted, right? He tried, but every single time, this tycoon, he had it covered, man. He made it clear to everyone that he's about to get every single copy, even though one of them got stolen, right, by Phaeton and Finks. And of course, I forgot again. There's that element of it. You've got the Phantom Troop members, Phaeton and Finks, and possibly more down the line that might come into it. So that creates another really fun dynamic as well. I think I spoke of this in the last episode, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But the thing is, Milky just gave it an honest shot. He did, an honest go at it, right? He didn't take the same approach as maybe Phaeton and Finks. He could have. I think he could have maybe stolen a copy, but he doesn't. He just couldn't afford it. Right. And he decides he's just going to go back home. So, there's a bit of a sad moment there, him kind of exiting that restaurant. I mean, it's beautiful, again, from a visual standpoint. But yeah, his departure was a little bit sad, to me at least, Oh, also, speaking of assassins or mercenaries, this idea of there being, too many players that are still inside of the game, too many players that the tycoon hired that decided to, just kind of give up and live inside of the game, but they cannot be, brought out of the game, right? From at least from the outside, right? that as long as they're alive inside the game, you cannot take out the memory card. I believe that was the gist of it, right? Those spots are taken, those slots are taken, right? So that's why, the selection process, the screening process is really quite selective, right? A handful of, I don't know, promising individuals, individuals that really, really, excel and stand out in their eyes, that could make a difference, perhaps, that do stand a chance of, potentially completing the game. Now, could he not just hire a few mercenaries, right? That are, again, cut out for the job itself, that are really fantastic end users. Could he not hire them and kind of, I don't know, hire them as hitmen, right? Mercenaries, assassins, to go in there and get those guys out of there, clear them out, kill them. Is that not a possibility? Maybe, the thing is, maybe he did that. There's a few characters that entered, there's a few or a couple of them that look like, again, goons, textbook goons. Maybe they have been given a different task. I don't know. But, in terms of killing or people dying, there's another point that's brought up, an important point, specifically, actually, one that Gon is a little bit confused about, right? The helper AI, or that girl, she states that, if a person is to die, the album or the items in the album also disappear instantly. They're gone. So the possibility of targeting someone that has acquired quite a bit of the collection already, right? And as far as the cards or the items go, and just taking it, killing them and taking it, you can't do that, right? You can't do that. There is a segment in the Hunter exam, the tags, right? You could do that. You could just kind of target someone that has a bunch of them already and just get them, right? By targeting that person, just get a bunch of those tags, and kind of secure your path to the next phase of the exam. You can't do that here. But the thing is, Gon couldn't even think of that possibility, right? He was a little bit confused. He didn't even think that, oh, okay, maybe people could target someone and kill them and just take all of it, right? I think he said something like, but if you're dead, does it even matter anymore? So he didn't even think of that possibility of possibly killing someone, or people thinking of possibly killing someone and just taking their collection. But also in terms of character personalities, or, characters behaving in character, let's kind of shift the focus to Gon and Killua, right? Of course, Gon, you don't really ever usually get an internal monologue. It really happens on rare occasions, and it truly only happens if he's by himself at times, right? If you go back to the Hunter exam, him, targeting or him tailing Hisoka, that's one of the few moments you do get Gon by himself, right? And then of course the aftermath of it. But yeah, Gon kind of keeps to himself, and of course, it's his instincts, right? That's how he functions. He just kind of assumed, and he just knew, okay, that they are going to test everyone, right? So he decided that almost instantly. So of course, Gon's approach is really quite in character, isn't it? But in Killua, you have a really, really interesting shift that happens, because there's 2 points to this. At first, it's perfectly in line with how Killua functions, right? His comfort zone. This is how he was brought up, right? Once again, you get Silva's monologue playing over in his head, right? These things tend to really play out in his mind quite a bit, right? In addition to his own internal monologue, right? Really thinking things through, twice, 3 times, really, analyzing, and again, like he mentioned himself or stated himself, coming to the logical deduction. And again, there's that potential of overthinking it at times as well, perhaps. But something really fascinating happens here. He believes, or, he takes the first steps in perhaps changing his teachings, his learnings, his programming since he was a young child, right? And one of those things do factor in, as far as the newly discovered or newly presented Hatsu goes, right? Him transmuting his aura into the properties of electricity, right? It was really quite impressive. And, I stated that this guy's reaction, the guy who is the judge, right? The beard guy, his reaction specifically in this case should tell me everything I need to know about this ability, right? Just how impressive it truly is. I knew it's impressive, but, this is, this person right here, the beard guy, he's also a Nen master. I'm not sure. Maybe he's not a Nen master, but experienced, right? This is an old head, essentially, as far as Nen goes. So, he was really quite baffled. to see this technique, especially because, in his mind at first, it's this jarring, understanding of, okay, just 4 days ago, he wasn't able to show this, right? Or showcase this. But in 4 days time, he's able to kind of really perfect this, or not perfect it, but really kind of get a strong handle on this. But then he's also intelligent enough and experienced enough to know that, okay, this type of mastery, or this type of, I don't know, understanding of this specific ability, electricity specifically, this is not just something you can learn in 4 days time, because as Killua stated, it's kind of like a family thing, right? Now listen, he's kind of saying it in a joking manner, he's just kind of having fun, but let's not forget that you can look at that as, I don't know, abuse that he has gone through. He's been used to it since he was a young child. So yes, even though on one end, you can kind of look at it as, okay, this is kind of normal. This kind of upbringing is super normal in the Zoldyck clan and the Zoldyck family of assassins. It's just part of growing up, this training, being subjected to this, right? Being exposed to this. But yeah, from another perspective, you can kind of look at it as abuse, right? A really abusive upbringing, perhaps. But if you are to look at it from that perspective, this abusive upbringing, there is essentially a silver lining. Killua was able to use this abusive past into a strength, right? Turned it into a strength. But the crucial step that Killua does take in this episode is him essentially trying to go against all of that, right? This is, him stepping out of his comfort zone as an assassin, because now he truly believes that, he's left that behind. I'm not an assassin anymore, so I can't really, fall back on that training, those teachings, right? All that programming since an early age, right? That's been really dialed in. Now he truly believes that he is a hunter. Right? Sure, maybe he's not a professional hunter because, he didn't get the license and all of that. But, that doesn't mean you can't be a hunter, right? I'm sure there's plenty of them that don't have, official licenses, right? Licensed hunters through the hunter exam and all of that. But they're still hunters, right? Really effective ones, and maybe even better than perhaps professional hunters, right? Because of the experience that they might have. So, now he feels that it is time for him to step out of that comfort zone, right? Begin to take a few risks. So yeah, Killua believes he's on a new path at this point as a hunter. But, in my mind, I'm always thinking about Silva, right? And I'm always thinking about, Killua's departure from the Zoldyck estate in that arc, right? Before the Heaven's Arena arc, Silva certainly believes that sooner or later he is going to return, right? He is going to take up his place. So let's see. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. I mean, before I sign off, I kind of get a bit of a taste for the specific score for Greed Island, right? In that tutorial zone. But I'm certainly enjoying the tone so far for the score, for this new arc. And I'm really quite excited to get into more of this new score. Next episode is certainly, Greed Island, right? They're in there now. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access episodes, multiple episodes at this point, or, full opacity or timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page. And potentially supporting the channel. If you are interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 61. Until then, take it easy.